I was scrolling YouTube, and then I heard somebody talking that there was a new Animal Farm trailer, so I watched it. And I'm gonna be honest, I've never seen something so disrespectful to the original work, and it's disrespectful in a way that's like it's just nothing I've ever seen before. Because most of the time when I see a movie trailer and it's bad, it's usually for like some superhero movie or some work of fiction that like, yeah, okay, is Snow White being bad like a bad thing? Probably. But is it like that big of a deal? I mean, Snow White at the end of the day is Snow White. Snow White's not making any like big claims about like anything in life really. It's just a movie that you watch for entertainment purposes. And then the Animal Farm trailer or Animal Farm in general is not just a movie for entertainment purposes. There's also like actual ideas behind it and about, authoritarian regimes. So I watched it yesterday, and there were the first like 5 minutes or first like start or the first half of the trailer was fine. Like it goes through the basic deal of the animals get discover that they're going to be sent to a slaughterhouse, and then after that they're like, oh, slaughterhouse humans are evil. Let's overthrow them and replace them with a more equal system. And then they do that, and then the pigs are in charge. It's just like the usual thing. But then after that, they start going out. They start trading with humans, which is perfectly fine. I'm pretty sure they did that in the book. And the Soviets did trade with other capitalistic nations during the time, so that checks out. But then after that is when it starts getting weird, because the what is it called? The trailer introduces a new supervillain. And this supervillain is a woman that wants to own the farm, or at least, if not own it, work with it. The trailer doesn't make it quite clear what she wants to do with the farm, but she's the new evil supervillain. And then of course behind her, she also has an army of like some like supernatural, teched up in white suits, like superhuman army. And then after that, the other animals discover what the pigs and the humans are doing, and then they're gonna mount a resistance to fight the humans and the pigs, and then reclaim the farm and replace it probably with another new system. And I imagine at the end of the movie, everybody's gonna be dancing around the dance fire, very happy because the good guys won. And I think, the movie is made for younger generation. First of all, I don't think it should have been made for a younger generation. I think that was a movie that was an adult movie that kids should watch. I don't think it should have been a kids movie with adult themes. I think those are two completely different things, and I think they went the wrong direction. I'm gonna be honest. And I was watching, I was like, why are they going around making superhero jokes? Like the side splitting comedy you get in every superhero movie, where like somebody's like, oh yeah, well you haven't seen the size of my gun. He's like, oh yeah, I carry an M27. Oh my god, an M27. And then they both start laughing, and it's just like, what? Who talks like this? It doesn't even make sense. It was kind of like that, and it can be appealing to children, but like I don't see this as a child. I think most people when they're watching, they're just gonna be like, what? Who is this? Who is this made for? Because like children aren't exactly going to be too interested in the ideological themes behind it, unless they're like maybe in high school. Like before that, I think all the children are just going to be like, yeah. It's kind of a weird type of shtick we got going on here. Not exactly sure what's happening, because most people don't like teach their children about ideological themes and different economic and political systems until they're at least like in middle school. So like who's gonna go around and then watch that as a child and be like, yes, I enjoyed that. I understood what was going on, and So it's just another one of Hollywood's case studies of, taking something that was perfectly fine before, unique and interesting, and then boiling it out into the same formula to try and make the most money from it. Which I think is a shame, but I mean, it does show why indie studios are, doing very well these days. Where I see like a lot more indie movies because, they're not the same formula over and over. So another point that pissed me off is that the fact that there is a resistance after the pigs win, right? Because the pigs win in the game or in the book, and then what happens after that is that as they are the smartest people in the book, because like this is what the Soviet Union actually did. The smartest people were essentially in charge, and then the smart people in charge essentially killed every other smart person in the world. And in the book, this is the trailer didn't show whether Snowball was there or not. But in the book, the smart person, the other smart people, otherwise known as Snowball, gets run out of town. You know, the Snowball is more pro freedom, a democratic society, and then you know the other pigs run him out of town because they're threatening the authority and their grip on society. And then after that, the rebels have nobody left to lead them, and so then they're kind of forced to live in the pig society that they invented and for their own profit, because the pigs ensured that there was nobody that was smart enough to mount resistance against them. And like I feel like the book actually shows what I don't know how should I say this, the fear, the dangers of communism, and how or authoritarianism more accurately, and how the grip on power is super hard to get rid of once it's there, right? Because once the pigs are in power, it's going to be extremely hard to get them out of power, just because you know they get rid of everybody who could possibly think differently. And that is, I think, the most powerful message of the story, is that there isn't a happy ending. That Boxer at the end of the book, the guy who worked hard for the revolution, believed everything, died just being exploited by the pigs, and then his body not getting buried, but rather sold to a slaughterhouse as a kind of like final ending. That the two pigs and the humans, the humans in this case are like, analogy for the czars, that the czars and the Kremlin essentially are not all that different, and that the regime didn't change all that much. But the fact that in the movie that there's a resistance after the fact makes me think that that's a lot of the powerful fear gone, because the fact that there's a resistance means that after you're in a communist regime, you could just go around, you could just change it again, right? No big deal, just start a second revolution. And it's like, well, the whole point of the George Orwell book originally was that you can't start a second revolution, because the authorities make 1,000,000,000% sure that everybody who could raise a voice of defiance is killed, brutally murdered. And that was not a case here. Like there was no, at least from what I saw in the trailer, there was no calling of dissent. There was the authority never actually went through and were like, okay, so you don't believe in the regime, you're gonna have to get out of here, Buster. You're gonna have to go into the grave. The revolution is endless, and different styles of thought aren't welcome here. And I feel like if they added that would be a great thing. And it's just so tiny. Like, I don't even know how they got access to this. What is it called? Property. I mean, I imagine maybe it's just some George Orwell's estate. If he left one for his children, was just he was just offered cash, and then they were like, oh, cash, I like cash, and then they took the money. And then that's how it happened. But the old Animal Farm movie was so good as well. Like the one Animal Farm movie that existed before this, the one with the animatronics, that one stayed pretty true to form. Of course there was adaptations, mainly because time constraints in a movie are much stronger than time constraints in a book. You can't fit as much information in a 2-hour book movie as you can in a 5-hour book, just because the book has more space, more time to evolve, and also having access to characters' inner thoughts makes everything a lot easier in a book, because in a movie you can't, unless you have on video narration, you can't have inner thoughts, and you have to show everything. And also showing everything is a lot more expensive than just writing something. And then you have to hire actors. So it just makes sense that there has to be some modification, but not the modifications that the fundamental story changed. And because the fundamental story changed, the message is different. And I just imagine, it just seems like they're taking and actually it's almost like an anti-capitalism movie. Almost when I was looking at the trailer, I was like, man, what are you doing? Because when you're watching this, you're like, well, here is a great book about a different regime, and here's capitalism, the capitalistic ideas of we have to milk as much money from this as possible, the profit motive, and turns it into something completely different, and that is no longer about telling a story about how to live your life or about the dangers, and more about getting money. It's like yeah, capitalism has no morals, and it's like, okay, so is capitalism also not that different from the humans in the film? Because the humans in the film only care about exploiting people for money, and then there's these guys who are only care about exploiting properties for money. Anyways, I was super duper disappointed in the trailer, and yeah, I wish it wasn't the case. It was a great book. And all of George Orwell's books where the main character loses, I think, is very powerful. And then they kind of just ruined it. So, fuck them, actually. They should think on their actions, and I hope the movie flops, and they lose a fuckload of money, so then they hopefully learn from this. But from what I know, it's probably not. It's probably just going to make its money back somehow, because of the name recognition. And, you know, everybody watches the first failure. I think it's the second failure that people stop watching. So people are probably going to watch this when they're going to make enough money, and it's going to be disappointing. I imagine. That's my prediction. Could be different, though. Anyways, see ya.